Well, hello, folks. As you can see, I have somebody with me that's never been with me before, and he's coming to us from the nation of Israel, and his name is Amichai, and I can't get that guttural sound just right, but he's going to talk to us about what names mean. The title is actually a question: what do names mean? So, Amichai, please talk to us.
Hello, everybody. This is Amichai Yam from Israel. This is the short version of my name, and I want to express the full version of my name. And when I say full version, it means that I developed through certain spiritual studies a 12-dimensional identity, an alignment of my personal earthly being with 12 other multidimensional selves, so to speak. You can say that is different lifetimes, but I like to see that as an alternative existence, as a multi-layer and beyond time and space.
A multidimensional being.
Yeah. So my full name, from the 12th dimension down to the third, is Lord Melchizedek Ardal Indra Kumara Melchior. Some called me also Osiris. That was not really my name, but this is known in the Egyptian mythology. And I had many different incarnations, which I will not speak right now about. But my earthly name is Amichai Kalish Yam. Kalish was my original family name. And each one of those names represents a certain being that exists in a certain dimension, has a certain role that he plays in this dimension. And that roles are have a lot of effect on the general matrix of life and the collective consciousness that we all are part of. So let me explain those names. Lord Melchizedek is a being that is the leader of the order of Melchizedek, and he's called also the universal Logos. Logos is a spiritual leader of one of God's councils of light, also known as spiritual hierarchy, which is a very bad name, because when people are hearing the word hierarchy, you immediately start to think about the dark forces. But pyramids are just a way that God uses to bring down light from the higher dimension. And so the order of Melchizedek is an order of universal teachers of light that exist in multi-dimensional spaces and times, and existed on the earth since the time, at least basically the time of creation, but throughout each of the eons, also called epochs, and also called root races in the theosophy. Epochs is the anthroposophic. Anyway, human beings have lived in this place in various energetic states. When we talk about Adam and Eve, for example, when they were in the Garden of Eden, they were in light bodies. When they were thrown out of the garden, their light body has become a body of flesh. So they received another body.
By the way, I pronounce it Melchizedek, and
yes,
that's the Melchizedek priesthood. And
yes,
Kali, your name Kalish or Kali is of course Hindu. That's a Hindu
yes,
word.
yes. So and through this meditation stick that I'm holding, that is becoming like a magical wand that I built, I call it the keys of Atlantis. Melchior, the king of light, was my name in Atlantis. And I was the last king of Atlantis before the fall. And
So it was your fault.
yeah, mine and some other people who have joined my participation. And I have a very deep memories. In fact, I'm writing for the last 12 years a book, and then a movie, and then a TV series. I don't know how it will get out in the end. Maybe now I'm thinking about a TV series that I start. Basically, the title was "The Memories of the King of Atlantis," but now I decided it will be just a remembrance because I have so many memories from different lifetimes, and it's basically run throughout the entire history of the universe. Not only this, but some other universes as well. So I think I'm working now to develop it into a series that will be called Remembrance, and in each time, in each not episode, in each season, it will be from different dimensions, different times and locations.
So that certainly sounds fascinating.
Yeah, and it will be about the paradox of light and darkness, the so-called conflict of the forces of darkness and the forces of light. You know who started this conflict?
I don't know. I hope it wasn't God.
Yeah, it was. In the Kabbalah, you call the light and the dark the right-hand path and the left-hand path.
Right.
So basically, this is God trying to beat himself up, trying to make a war with itself. And basically, one day, soon I hope, we are working on that, we are going to end this war. And this is, I'm talking, we are going to, but in other dimension, it already happened. The war is over. Okay?
Yeah, I've had people tell me that. It hasn't reached here yet.
It's in the process. We're still working. It's a great. The idea of a magical wand is as above, so below. If you know the tarot card of the magician. So basically, the magician of my order, which is the order of King Solomon, are busy bringing that piece from the higher dimension down to this dimension. So let me tell you about who is Lord Ardal. Lord Ardal is the leader, if you read the Emerald Tablets of Thoth the Atlantean, is the leader of the Lords of Amichai, which is the Elohim Lords who created within a space called the All of Amichai, which is basically the heart of the planet. They created the flower of life, and from that flower of life, they created the tree of life and the seed of life. Let me show you something. I like to, put things in shape. So this is a drum, a Miriam type of tambourine.
Right. Okay.
And this represents the Malchut sphere in the tree of life. And basically, I painted this flower of life symbol. So all of Amichai as a flower of life, a crystal fire that burns forever in the heart of the earth. And from this, there is the tree of life. And from that tree of life and the flower of life, human beings were created, and we were basically created as an angel. The Adam Kadmon in the Kabbalah, it's the first arrangement of light in the shape of the flower of life and the tree of life within it. So there are multiple levels. We say Pardes. Pardes is, I live here near a place called Pardes Chana. The Pardes of Chana is also my mother. So it's very funny. Everything is, in Hebrew, everything has meaning,
Well, in English too. It's just that English mixes all the languages together.
Yeah, but Hebrew is a very sacred language that, according to Kabbalah, God used to create. And again, God is a very problematic word. Let's say the Elohim created it. And I was talking about the Elohim lords in the All of Amenty. And basically, the first chapter of Genesis it's about how this process came to being. And the Sefer Yetzirah from the Kabbalah explained that God, or Elohim, which is plural word,
right?
They or we created the basic pattern called the flower of life and the tree of life and the seed of life, and this represents the way the cells in the human body are multiplying, and it also represents the DNA. So, and so starting from the little cell, going all the way down to a universe, all the way up to a universe in a fractalized way, this is the same pattern. The flower of life and the tree of life and the seed of life. This is the same. So the seed of life is the first 7 circles, and go around it the 12 circles. This is flower of life, and then the next thing you have 24, like the 24 elders in front of the throne of Yahweh. And also you can ask, who is Yahweh? What is this throne is sitting on? So let me tell you who is Yahweh. Yahweh means the 4 elements. Yahweh is a pyramid. Yahweh is basically an ascension chair. It's a chariot. It's a Merkabah. I have it all in form. So this is Yahweh, okay? The Merkabah, the living Merkabah. And this is a vehicle that El Elyon, the highest God that is outside of creation, is ruling the lower world through the 4 elements. And below that, in the crown Sephirah, there are the Archangel Metatron and the 4 holy beasts of the book of Yechezkel, and also in Revelation. And below them, there is the Malachei Sharet, which is Archangel Michael, Gabriel, Uriel, and Raphael. And below them is the kings of the elementals. Their names is Jin is the fire elemental, Bob is the earth elemental, Nixa is the water elemental, and Paralda is the air elemental. And this is like the kings. They are the highest beings in the order, and they are in charge of all the physical manifestations, the etheric and the physical manifestations. So this is the way that the highest God, El Elyon, and basically also the order of Melchizedek, or any priest of Melchizedek, is called a priest of El Elyon, the highest, the most high, that which is beyond the 144 dimensions. This creation is 12 within 12. And let me show you this. Okay, I show you that before. You have 12.
Yes, right.
12 times 12, it means 144. This represents the dimension. This represents the 144 Kumaras, which are ascended masters from the order of Melchizedek, that came from the planet Venus to the planet Earth in the time of Lemuria and set up Shambhala. And from Shambhala, they created this, what is called the spiritual hierarchy of the planet, which are the ascended masters, these immortal masters that have reincarnated again and again and gave all the religions, all the scientific, all the important art. As in the theosophy, they say, throughout all history, there is a secret golden thread that connects all spiritual paths, all scientific knowledge, and all art forms, because there is no religion higher than truth. So I studied theosophy as the first spiritual teaching in this lifetime. When I was 18, I met someone whose name was Elad Rubin, and he was my personal guide. And his master was from the Philippines, and his name was Mel. And before he was the head of the Philippine Theosophy Society, and he was also within the government of the. He was some. I don't exactly remember, but maybe the finance minister of. He was a very advanced.
Are you saying the Philippines? Did I hear correctly?
Yeah, yeah. So
okay.
this is the like the two teachers that I was connected to, and I was studying occultism, which is the inner practical aspect of theosophy. Theosophy is like a philosophy,
Right.
but
Madame Blavatsky.
Yeah, so she was bringing the philosophic side of things, but she was not really into magic. But after I went throughout the whole process of what she taught and what other teachers, there is a whole lineage of teachers that came afterwards. And the last one was Joshua Davidson, and another teacher called herself Lady Manuel. She's from Florida, I think. She's living now. Anyway, and so I was until 2012. I went through this process of initiation, and then I switched into the Golden Dawn teaching, which is Dion Fortune. I will not say his name because he's that one you don't say his name.
Okay.
He is very. It's like you know, in Harry Potter, this guy that you don't say his name, but I will say it just for the audience because he's very well known. Aleister Crowley, he took those teachings into the dark side, and but anyway, he was an influential character. You cannot take that from him. He was influential, and so I study from books of Dolores Astro-Wiki, like this book, ritual magic workbook. She's a living teacher that lives here at this time. She has a school called the Servants of the Light, and I also study books from Omra Michael Ivanov, another Kabbalist that was also talking about the Great Wild Brotherhood teachings and all this universal Kabbalah. And I came to practice what is called the King Solomon magic, which is a very advanced kind of magical system. Like some people know it by the type of metal things that they sell.
Okay.
Coming from this book, I make a drawing, and basically I developed this all Kabbalistic art around this book. Let me bring it up out of here. This is one of the keys of Solomon.
Are you a drummer, by the way?
I am learning to produce music, and drumming is part of it.
My son is a drummer. I guess you may know that. I don't know if you do or not.
No, I don't know. But anyway, I also create music that is basically channeled, but let me come back to those lines of spiritual teachers and artists. You have Beatles, Rolling Stones, Led Zeppelin, Doors, David Bowie, and a list of other very famous rock stars that was very influenced or saw themselves as a student of the path laid down by Israeli Regardia, who was the student of Eliezer Crowley. And he basically took those teachings and he worked on what is called the tree of knowledge of good and evil. That basically within each sephira of the tree of life, there is an angel, but there is also a demon. And this is a type of, I will not call it black magic because this word is very problematic. Call this, let's say, evil magic and a white magic that is basically, again, let's leave this white and black because this is a very type of a English type of a wording, okay? That says the black people are the evil and the white people are the good ones. So let's throw that.
I believe that.
Yeah. So this is right. So let's throw this language out of the conversation and let's say benevolent for the better of all the humankind kind of magic, or evil, self-centered, the other kind of magic. Basically, magic is magic. It's just a technology. Like I told you before, that God is also technology. So let's say, let's talk about things like the all-seeing eye. So some people think that the all-seeing eye represents the Illuminati, Kabbalah, whatever you want to call them. If you know something about spiritual practices, about the meaning of symbology, of symbols, you know that the all-seeing eye is basically this. It's a technology. I wrote it on a stone, okay?
Okay.
It's as old as the first human beings that ever existed. This is called the triangle of the arc, which is you have a triangle and you have these two rings here. And this represents the ring of Solomon that was given to him by Archangel Michael. And you have written here Michael around the center. And you have written here tetragrammaton, triumaton, and anaxaphon, which are three names of God from the Kabbalistic Solomonian tradition. So this is a type of technology that allows you to channel and connect your consciousness, your third eye, to whomever spirit in each one of the 144 dimensions. So basically, it allows you to access the all-knowing, all-present, and all-powerful presence of, again, what I said God is, and as I said, it's just the downpouring of divine light from the highest to. So basically, what this technology, and you have all these celebrities that are doing this meditation. Basically, they are working with the technology. It's a light technology. It's a very powerful technology. It's a magical technology that connects your third eye, or your right or left eye, whatever you want to to see through, with the mind of God, with the throne. And as I said, a throne is just a merkaba. It's just an ascension chair. So who is sitting on the throne? Who is this one God?
I don't know. That's a good question.
Who is the Elohim?
Who is what?
Elohim. Elohim is plural.
Elohim is plural. That's plural. It's not one.
Yes.
It's plural.
Yes. So basically, what I want to say that this is us. We are the Elohim.
That's what I thought. That's where you were going.
Yeah, we are the Elohim. And again, I was starting from my identity as Lord Ardal, the leader of the Elohim Lord. So this is the point now I'm getting from. I'm getting back to this point, okay? So I'm going down to the dimension. The seventh dimension I called Indra Kumara. Indra in the Hindu tradition is like the war god, riding an elephant with this Vajra wand that is basically, he was just like a Gevura spear, you know, all the war gods. So you have also the feminine side is more of Durga in the Hindu tradition. And in the Egyptian, it will be Horus, the war god, the son of Isis, who was making, he was brought through this type of sex magic ritual that she resurrected her dead husband, Osiris, that was cut into 14 pieces.
Right.
And this is this very important Egyptian myth that was the center of the mystery school, and later was continued into the what we call the Christianity. And that's the Kumara part, okay? You know, I call it the house of the Kumara. So the Kumara are high priestess of the order of Melchizedek that came from Sirius down to Venus and down to the earth, and they created a place called Qumran, which is in the Dead Sea area. And this is where they found the Dead Sea Scrolls in Qumran. So this is the Essene movement, the Essene Brotherhood, which was a third movement. There were three movements in the Second Temple Judaism. And this is where Yeshua ben Yosef, the son of Joseph, the carpenter of worlds, which is another name for Melchizedek. Melchizedek, the carpenter of worlds. So he was not a simple carpenter. He was the highest initiate on the planet. His name was Saint Germain, a very well-known figure in a New Age spirituality. And so this is one of his incarnation, and he brought a very advanced being that a few incarnations back, he was also known as Mechivenda Melchizedek. He was the king of Shalem. He manifested out of nowhere, just descended out of nowhere with his body, and he was ruling Jerusalem, that was basically called Shalem. And Iru Shalem, this says, Iru is from the word that they will see, Shalem. Shalem means whole. Okay, if you go to my website called Ori Shalem, how do you call it? Line, straight line, shalem.com. Basically, this is a mystery school I created. Ori means the light of Shalem, the light of Melchizedek. So this is my mystery school, and I teach several courses about different aspects of the order of Melchizedek tradition. And you can check it out.
Yes.
And I need to. I read through it because it was 10 years ago that I wrote it, and there is much new stuff that I've created. And anyway, I'm really studied deeply. You know, I was I grew up as a secular kibbutz child. In my father, his name is Eitan, and he was a Bible and citizenship and history teacher basically he got to have like a doctoral degree in the history of the Jewish people. And basically, I grew up as a non-believer in God. God did not exist for me. God was not present in the society that I grew up in. But when I was 16, I started to have visions, and I started to have a spiritual awakening, and I started to feel and experience God firsthand, and then also the goddess. And since at the age of 18, as I learned this spiritual wisdom tradition called the theosophy, I started to have names to many things that I was experiencing before, but I didn't know how to call those other dimensions. So now I had a philosophy that is very detailed and very universal.
Well, you certainly have touched on a lot of key things. And by the way, our time is starting to draw toward the conclusion. So I do ask that you try to tie things together and
yeah. So I want to go down now. My fifth dimensional identity as the king of Melchior, which is the last king of Atlantis. He basically later it was known as the myth of Isis and Osiris. And Isis was the high priestess of Atlantis, and she basically was the high priestess. That the high priestess card in the tarot card, this represents Isis.
okay.
You know, you have the left pillar, the Boaz and Yachin pillar, and she has the scroll of the Torah and the cross and the pagan three moon phases type of a crown, and she has crescent. So I can say that I'm both Isis and Osiris at the same time.
So
she's like
there are
like
many names then.
Yeah.
What do names mean? They mean many things, obviously.
Basically, it's a higher dimensional identity. And Isis, as a high priestess of Atlantis, she was able and still am able. And each one of her priestesses, that you're talking about 12,000 years of history of Isis being on the planet, teaching, initiating priestesses that were called later Kedeshot. Kedeshot means like a sacred prostitute, priestess prostitute. Okay, so when the patriarchy took over, they named all the priestess of the goddess whores.
Yeah.
This is the story of Mary Magdalene, for example.
Right.
A high priestess of Isis. And Jesus, Yeshua, his name was not Jesus. Jesus is something else that was put upon him. It means Zeus. It's like his Roman counterpart. They adject everything he says and switched it all the way to make the most horrible crime syndicate in history, which is the Catholic Roman Church. That is throughout all his history of existence was bloody and corrupted, and involving Molech, child sacrifice, ritual, satanic abuse from its beginning until this time.
Right.
And this is the worst criminal organization on the planet, and they are coming down. This is the good news.
Okay. Well, we're going to have to wrap it up because I don't want to hit the over
So
the
that
top.
was the baby. My in the third dimension, my family name was Kalish, and I threw it out and called myself Yam. Yam is an ocean. And then when I made some forgiveness with my grandfather, who was giving me very hard lessons in this lifetime, I made peace with him, and I brought back this name, and I now call it Kali. So it connects me to the goddess Kali, which is the Hindu equivalent of Isis, the Bina sphere, the left side of the brain, the logical, dark goddess. So it's all archetypes. I'm trying to make peace with all these archetypes that live within my soul. It's
Yes.
a very important and deep process. And from that process of inner peace, I'm coming to the process of world peace, of many world peace. Okay, it's a multi-dimensional.
Okay, well, I do thank you for your time, and again, I ask that you send me a little bit of a blurb if you can, and I'm going to listen to it and jot down some notes myself based on what I've heard. But I do thank you for taking time, and again, I wish you a happy birthday.
Thank you. Okay.
Okay, and namaste.
Peace be upon you.
And upon you. Thank you.
Shalom.